Hello again, I'm Matthew from thewetpen.com, and if you're watching this video when it is posted, I'm currently on a 20-hour flight to Indonesia, so I might not see your comments right away this time, and it also means that the release of my new inks will be delayed a few more weeks, but I'm sure we'll all manage. I'll let you know when I get back. Anyway, several months ago, I was browsing through some posts on a Facebook group about Indian fountain pens when I ran across a name that I wasn't familiar with, Elica Pens. At the time, the only way to order them was by contacting them through WhatsApp. I'll post their information down below. So I chatted with the owner and ended up buying these two pens. It was the ebonite of this first pen that really caught my eye. I love these stripes of red and black with the tan. It's an ebonite that's not like any of the others in my collection. This pen was called the Yati when I ordered it, but I've also seen it simply called the Wand since then, which is what I'll stick with for now. Whatever you call it though, it's a gorgeous pen. Available either with a glossy polished finish or this matte finish. And the matte texture is really well done. It's not scratchy like a brushed finish, but more uniform and smooth. The shape of the pen reminds me a lot of the narwhal nautilus. Both ends of the pen are rounded, and the body and cap have straight sides that meet almost seamlessly. Of course, there's no cap band like we have on the narwhal. I bought this nautilus in their blue ebonite, which I really like, but I actually prefer the shape of the Elica Pens clip. But while the nautilus is a piston filler, the Elica pen uses a cartridge converter. The cap unscrews in just 1 1/4 turns, which is not bad at all. And underneath, the threads are very smooth and discreet. There's a little step up from the grip section to the body, but it's small enough that it's not a problem for me. But if you hold your pen towards the body, it might be worth thinking about. The grip itself is gently funnel-shaped. It tapers down a bit and then straightens out without any sort of significant flare or lip at the end. And that brings us to the nib. When I bought this one, the nib was sold as a JoWo, but they may have simply meant that it was in a JoWo compatible housing. I chose a broad nib as usual, and as you can see, this is a gold-plated nib with the Elica name laser etched onto it. But this doesn't actually look like a JoWo nib. First of all, the feed is just a generic Chinese feed. This is the shape of a JoWo feed. And there isn't a letter stamped onto the edge of the nib here to indicate the tipping size. There would typically be a B stamped in down here for a broad nib. And actually, this nib looks a little bit shorter too. From the breather hole to the tip, the JoWo is about 0.8 millimeters longer. So maybe this is a Canwright nib or another Indian nib, but I'll test it out and see how I like it. Of course, with the cap and body being the same width, the cap won't post on this pen if you care about that sort of thing, but the pen is plenty long enough to be very comfortable in the hand by itself. And if I unscrew the grip from the body, you can see the standard international cartridge inside. This one's a Schmidt. The nib unit is definitely a JoWo compatible size. I can swap in a JoWo unit with no trouble. So with the assumption that this is not a JoWo nib, it's worth giving it a quick test to see how it feels. I will ink this pen up with the lapis barred old fashioned that I showed you last week. Let's see how it writes. Interesting. This doesn't exactly feel like a JoWo broad nib to me, but it feels a little better shaped than a lot of the Canwright broads that I have, and it does actually feel really nice. Not scratchy at all, but a little more feedback than a JoWo broad nib. It feels a bit more like a sailor nib to me. Anyway, I'm really impressed with this pen overall, especially for the price. I believe that I paid $50 for mine, but they've also been listed at the Pen World website for a bit less, although they've all been sold out there for months. In the second pen box is another ebonite pen, but this one is a little bit larger. The model is called the Dura, and this one was also available in a wide range of different ebonites, and also some really stunning acrylics. This pen is more of a traditional cigar shape, but, well, you can see the shape. I ordered this particular ebonite color combination after seeing another pen with it that was really stunning, but the piece that I got is a little bit more average. I do really like this ebonite though. These earth tones are beautiful, and there are some good oranges in the cap. This pen is typically sold with a clip, usually the clip model that is also used on pens like the Ranga Samurai, but I ordered mine without a clip. The cap threads have multiple starts, so it unscrews in 1 1/4 turns as well, which again is excellent. Underneath the cap, you can see that the threads here are actually made of brass, and this metal connector also adds some weight to the front of the pen. The shape of the grip section here on the Dura is very similar to the grip on the Wand, with a taper and then a straight section and no flare at the end. Again, we get a number 6 nib in a JoWo style housing. This one is also a broad and it has a cartridge converter. And just to be thorough, I'm going to put some Nostalgic Honey ink into this pen and try out this nib too. And this one feels really similar to the other one. Not exactly like a JoWo, but not like a Can-Write either. A little bit of extra feedback, but still really nice and smooth. Because the body of this pen narrows towards the end, the cap actually does post. This might be handy if you need a place to stash the cap if you're making a quick note or two, but even with the brass threaded ring at the front of the pen, this is going to backweight the pen quite a bit. And on my hand, the cap rests right on the edge of my hand, which isn't very comfortable. Those of you who are very familiar with Indian fountain pens might notice that this one looks a bit familiar, and that's because it has some strong similarities to a Lotus pen model, the Vikrant. The body shape is very similar, and it even has the same brass threads, although the grip section on the Lotus has a lip at the end, and it uses a different clip. Since these pens are both ebonite, they feel very sturdy with some good heft compared to standard plastic pens of this size. The Wand weighs in at about 31 grams, and the Dura, with its brass threaded section, weighs 40. For comparison, this Pilot Custom 823 weighs 30 grams, and the aluminum Lamy All-Star weighs 22. And for size comparison, here are the two pens next to a Lamy All-Star, a TWSBI Eco, and the Pilot Custom 823. And for my Indian viewers, here's a Click Yen and a Click Aristocrat. And that's it. I should be home from Bali in 2 or 3 weeks, and by that time, all of my supply chain issues for my own inks should be sorted out. So you can be on the lookout for a new ink announcement video towards the end of April with any luck. Although I haven't really had any good luck with my suppliers so far, so maybe it's too early to get optimistic. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already. It's a big help for small YouTube channels like this one, or you might at least want to check and see whether that like button down there is still working. Take care everyone, and I'll be back soon with another video about fountain pens and ink.